Hey, I'm back with Q&A day, and today's answer is actually part 2 of a 3-part series that I'm doing on burnout. So our viewer Susan wrote in asking about how do I avoid burnout in my business. I loved it initially. I've had my business for about 16 months, she wrote, and she really enjoyed it, but now she's getting to a point where she's feeling overwhelmed, a little frustrated, and quite frankly, she's hitting burnout and wondering if she should just throw in the towel. So how do you avoid that? Well, in part 1, I talked about connecting to your overall vision and learning how to delegate and automate things so that you can have a system and structure in place. That's going to be so key. You can check that out in part 1, and we'll also link it down below as well. In this section, though, I want to talk about another area that I think is largely responsible for many entrepreneurs, especially those in a service-based industry, hitting burnout. And that is boundaries. Do you have firm boundaries in place? Because let's face it, when most people, especially coaches, are starting out, what's the thing that they give away in exchange for somebody's email? What's the lead magnet? Usually that lead magnet is going to be a free consultation. Well, how many free consultations can you do? In one way, it's great because it's sharpening your skills, right? But the more of those that you do, yes, you have a chance to bring on more clients. That's true. But there are a lot of people that will sign up for a free consultation and they'll kind of take and you start feeling that your energy is being drained. Now, do they have to take and take? No, if you have firm boundaries set. Part of this is going to speak to the sales aspect of bringing on board clients. You have to understand what these consultations are all about and how you actually run these consultations so that you can start to convert these individuals or prospects into clients. And there's a whole process to that. And I go through all of that in the Business Builder's Blueprint. But for our purposes here, I want you to really start getting your mind focused on your own boundaries around your business right now, either on the tasks that you're doing for your existing clients or even those that are prospects. So let's think about this. If you have people that are writing in and they want to, well, let's say you have people that you've given a free consultation to, right? How often do you give maybe a free 15-minute or 30-minute consultation and yet you find yourself running over? Why? Because there's more to talk about. Maybe you haven't answered enough questions, or you don't feel like, wow, I'm not ready to figure out how am I going to take this client or this prospect to the next step. How do I actually convert this prospect into a client? Well, if you don't have that already set up ahead of time, if you don't have a system or a structure in place that allows you to do that, and you don't have a script for yourself, and by script, I don't mean you want something written out, but you don't have it where you understand it and you're so confident in your abilities to help this individual that you don't really know how to make that natural transition to convert from prospect to client, then you're going to find yourself spinning your wheels and staying on a call that could have been 15, 30 minutes, whatever your consultation period is, and staying on there longer and longer, draining your energy and giving a lot of value. That's great, but you may find that, oh my gosh, I haven't converted this person because all I did is I just gave and gave and gave, and I missed the key ingredient here, and that was how to do the conversions, how to actually turn this person from a prospect into a client. And that is so important. So you really have to understand that. The second area in the boundaries area, how often do you have a client that maybe you've already given them the information that they needed. Maybe you've given them an outline of certain things that they need to do, or maybe you have a course and they come back to you again and again with questions about that course, questions about something that is actually already in the blueprint that you've given them, the information you've given them, or in the course that you've given them, but they haven't taken the time to look through it. Maybe it's a masterclass and you already went through it, and then maybe you've got it recorded, but they're still asking the same questions. That happens frequently. And do you get to a point where you say, okay, just never mind, I'll do it for you. Let me set it up. Let me show you how to do it, but I'll also do it at the same time. Just watch what I'm doing and then you'll have it done, right? That's so common because a lot of times, especially those of us that are coaches or consultants, mostly you see this in the coaching industry, it's that we want to help somebody. And so we think, okay, if I can show you how to do it, You'll follow along, and maybe I've already shown you once or twice, but oh heck, I'll just do it for you, right? Because we want to help. But what are we doing? We're doing absolutely a disservice to them, because we're enabling them to stay in that rut. We're enabling them to stay in that period, that little, stuck, where they're not growing and not learning and just taking on a lot more ourselves rather than pushing it off on them. We're taking it on, and we're starting to get frustrated naturally because we don't have those boundaries in place. Instead, it's something like this. I addressed that in module 2 of so-and-so, or during our masterclass, I actually went through that, and it is at, in the recording, it's at point 11 or whatever it may be, right? And directing people back to that. There's nothing wrong with giving a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance, but in an email, and also directing people back to where they can find that information. Now, if it's coming up over and over again for you, and you keep getting from the same clients kind of the same questions, well, then maybe you need to take a look at what you have there, and maybe you're not clearly conveying your information. So you might want to look at that and think, oh, do I need to redo this information? Do I need to chunk this down? Do I need to set up another masterclass, workshop, whatever it may be, to address this? So that's valuable information as well. But a lot of times, when we start hitting that burnout, it's because we don't have clear boundaries in place, and because we don't understand the system, or maybe the process of turning somebody from a prospect to a client, and then how to keep those firm boundaries in place even when they have become a client. So if you have a weekly group session going on, and somebody is always showing up late, and then they want your attention and they want to stay a little bit later, you need to know that you've got to say, you know what, we go from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's it, right? Because what you're doing then is obviously helping them to learn how to stick to that time as well. So boundaries are hugely important in your business, especially as a business owner. If you're running your company like a CEO, you have to make certain that you are sticking to those boundaries, setting them and sticking to them. That comes from having a structure in place. When you have that structure in place, when you know your plan of action and you know what you're supposed to be doing on a regular basis, it is far easier to set up those boundaries. So take a look at your business. Find out where maybe you might have been sliding a little bit with some of those boundaries, maybe allowing somebody to be on the call for 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes. If that's the issue, there's probably a conversion issue that you have to deal with, a sales issue basically that you have to deal with, or if you are starting to take on some of their projects yourself and saying, let me just help you with this. Oh, no problem, I'll go in and change that for you. If you start doing that, then again, you're not allowing that person to grow. And maybe you could look at it and say, wow, I'm getting this question a lot, so maybe I should look at offering a concierge service. Doesn't mean you have to do it. You can delegate that to somebody else, but it could be worth looking at, because that could be a whole nother revenue stream of your business. So a little bit of food for thought there, okay? I will be back with a third and final segment to answering this question, because I think there's another thing that could be going on here that can contribute as well to burnout. So thanks so much, Susan, for asking this question. And if you have a question for me, you can submit it to either support, let's see, there's two of them, support at kimkellythompson.com, or to kimkellythompson.com, and just in the subject line, we're asking you to just put Q&A day, okay? And I will be back with that third answer in just a bit, so stay tuned. Thanks.